Episode 2 of the Before You Go podcast here. Had Coach Wes Carroll last time, and now I got legendary skipper Quentin Merkel. You won 3 blue rings,
That's right. Yeah.
3 red rings, and you did it for how many years? 45 years?
45 years.
So tell me about Quentin Merkel. How'd you grow up, Coach? You grew up in Jasper and then moved to Evansville pretty early?
Well, I was born in Jasper, and my parents moved down here. I don't even remember that. I was too young. I was a little bitty guy. And then I'm not sure where we lived at. Lived in an apartment there for about a year, I guess, and they moved out on Evans, which was a duplex, I think. Pretty close to North High School.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved out to North Dexter, and that's where I was raised. It was 5 acres, and that's where my parents, raised me, and that's where we lived.
How many siblings did you have?
Well, let's see. We had Roger was an older brother. Alice, who's passed away. Dwight, Roxana,
Mm-hmm.
and Loretta.
Which one was a Marine? Roger?
I think it was Dwight.
Dwight, okay. I had this misconception, and I talked to you about it on the phone, that you were a Marine, because the stories I'd heard was did you start at Holy Rosary as a gym teacher? And people that went to Holy Rosary with you, and then my dad and uncle said, in gym class all we did was get in formation, dress right dress, forward march. Is that true?
Oh no. Well, we did that to begin with.
Yeah.
And I learned that from Joe Humphrey. So that's where I did my practice teaching at Boston.
Yeah.
And that's where he conducted his classes.
Okay.
So I learned that from him, and that's the way I conducted my classes.
So you went to Memorial High School.
Yes.
You graduated in 59?
Yeah.
And then went to UE. Did
Yes.
Did you play ball at UE?
I played football, yeah.
Played football. What position?
Well, I played quarterback.
You were a quarterback.
Yeah.
You're like a little Roger Staubach moving around.
Something like that, I guess.
Well,
we weren't too good. But,
yeah.
We were out there.
One of your former players, Dan Fain, I thought the world of Faino.
Yeah.
And he would always come by my dad's house, and as a kid, like 9, 10 years old, I'd look at Faino's calves. And Faino would go inside, and I'd say, Dad, he's got the biggest calves I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And he played football at Memorial.
Yes, he did.
And
he played baseball for us. He was a good athlete.
Yeah. See that all sports award there, Coach?
What's that?
That's Dan hitting 71 through 74, all sports award.
Oh my goodness.
He would never talk about that. That was in my grandpa's basement his whole life, or my whole life. And he was very humble, my dad was, and would never talk about his glory days.
Yeah.
But Fano would say, oh, we led her 3 times in football, 3 times in baseball, and 3 times in basketball.
Yeah.
So you played football and baseball at UE, and then what'd you do?
I just played
Just
football.
Okay.
I could have played baseball, but I didn't. Wild hair, I guess.
Yeah. So what'd you study at UE?
Well, physical education.
Okay.
And when I graduated from U of E, let's see, I can't remember the name of it now. The Catholic Center downtown,
Mm-hmm.
and I got a job there. And a friend of mine was at Atterbury Job Corps there. They started a job corps center there.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, hell, you get a job up there and it pays a lot more, So I said, okay. I'll go, I went up there and put an application in, and I got hired. Of course, they're looking for people,
Mm-hmm.
And I was up there about a year, I guess. I lived with 2 other guys in an apartment, and then I decided I'd come home for Christmas vacation. And I said, hell, when I was up at Atterbury, I coached a tag football team.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, damn, I really like this. I really love it.
Yeah.
So I said, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna come back here and see if I can't get my master's. master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went over to U of E and I talked to them, and I got some classes there, and I got my master's degree. And when I graduated from there, there was Joe Unfrey said there was a job opening at 2 places here, Christ the King and Holy Rosary.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I think you can get a job there.
Yeah.
So I applied there. And Sister Cuthbert was the principal at Holy Rosary,
Mm-hmm.
and she hired me. And I taught 3 years there.
Okay.
And then, after my 3rd year, one of the priests that lived there at Holy Rosary, but he taught at Memorial, he liked what he saw, and he said, come over to Memorial. He said, hey, you can get a job over there. He said, I'll put in a good word for you.
Yeah.
So I went over and talked to him, and I got a job in the PE department, taught, PE and driver training and health.
Mm-hmm.
And then the baseball coach at that time was Ralph Weinstein. And he said he was a farmer. He lived out in St. Philip.
Mm-hmm.
And he coached baseball. And he said, you know, I went over there with the understanding that I'm gonna take over the baseball job.
Mm-hmm.
So the year before I went over there, that spring, I coached the reserves and helped with the varsity. And then the next year I took over in 1970.
Yeah. And then Ralph went just football?
He went football. He was assistant football coach, and then when Coach Logo retired,
Yep.
he became the head coach.
Bob
I was
Emick,
one of the assistant coaches, yeah.
Bob Emick told me a funny story. There's Ralph walking up at a Memorial game in the bleachers, and everyone says, hey, Ralph, hey, coach. And there's Mayor Jonathan behind him, just kind of, thinking the mayor is going to get,
Yeah.
everyone saying, hey, Ralph. And,
Yeah.
but Jonathan, he was a professor, an adjunct professor at UE for me. He did state and local government after he was mayor. And I thought,
Jonathan?
yeah, who better to learn about state and local government?
He was a sharp cookie.
Yeah, still is.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So you took over the baseball program in what year?
In
70?
1970.
1970.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what was the state of the program and what did you do with it?
Well, Ralph had been very successful in baseball,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a nice crew coming back in 1970, and we got to the final game in the state that year.
Yeah.
I think we lost by 1 run.
Yeah.
But we had some good ball players.
After my dad passed Memorial Day. Well, I think it was 2 days before that. The last 3 days I'm holding his hand. And I finally went home and I typed it on YouTube. Memorial versus whoever it was.
Yeah.
And it was a state champ. I guess that would have been 74. It was when my dad was a senior.
I had my scorebook got laid out there and got dang, I forgot it.
Man, I'd love to look at that. But just hearing my dad's name, on that radio broadcast was the neatest thing, Hard ground ball down to the hot corner. Henning fielded. And then Dan Fain was the shortstop.
I think that's right, yeah.
And my dad said you guys won in semi-state 1-0.
Yeah.
And then it's raining today. So let's talk about that conversation we had on the phone. It's raining for like 3 days. You got rained out?
Yeah, I think we went up to Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
And we sit around there. It was the best.
You don't like to just sit around and not practice.
Well, you go up there to play. You don't go up there to watch it rain.
Yeah.
And then I remember that one time I got on the bus and we went someplace on a Sunday. I wasn't supposed to be with them, but I sat on the bus and they went out there and
Yeah.
hit some round balls. And
You
fly
were
balls.
just sitting there meditating on the bus. If they practice, they practice.
Yeah, something like that.
All right. So then, when did you have Don Mattingly and Jeff Schultz,
Yeah.
Mike Henning? That was a team that was that your first state championship?
Yeah, my little brother played on it too.
What was his
I
name?
call him a little brother. He was 6'4", weighed about 220.
Since he was younger, he was still
Greg,
little brother.
yeah.
Greg Merkel. Okay.
He was born 20 years behind me. I was
Really?
20 years older than me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds
He's
me
a baby of the family.
my grandpa Bill, his little brother Wayne was the same way, you know, like years and years removed from his closest
Yeah,
sibling.
Wayne did he? Yeah,
Yeah.
Wayne was in my class.
Was he really?
Yeah.
And Wayne went down to play some ball in Austin, Texas.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, he went to a little Catholic college down there and played baseball. And he said that, you know, being so far removed from his siblings when he got to high school,
Mm-hmm.
and his parents were so much older at that time. His Walt was his dad. And he said Bill never missed a game. You know, Bill was in his late 20s, could have been doing what all kinds of guys do in their late 20s, but he was always at your guys' games, I guess, if you played together. And just a sense of community. But, all right, so we got through that. I read something that Jeff Schultz said about you. He was never satisfied and always a disciplinarian.
Well, that's probably right. You know, if you're going to succeed, you got to keep trying to get better.
Yeah.
And that was my thought. You know, you try to get better. He looked at it as never being satisfied.
Well, were you satisfied with one state championship in '79?
Well, we won a state championship in '78.
78, okay.
Yeah. And then that year, I think we were 30 and 0, and we got beat by one run in a state championship game.
In '79.
Yeah, 79.
And that was is that still a state record, most consecutive wins?
Well, I tell you, I don't know for sure.
That's what Gordon Englehart said in your article, at least. 59 straight wins, I think
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
And my Uncle Mike, you know, remembers that 79 season. You know, we lost one game in 2 years, and it had to be the last one.
Yeah. Blackford beat us.
Yeah. So then you kept coaching.
Yeah. Well, oh yeah. I coached baseball for. I tell you, I really can't tell you the exact year, but I think it's been about 13 years now since I retired.
Yeah.
You know, got on baseball.
When did you know it was time to hang up?
Well, I don't know. There's all kinds of things there. I think I was about 72
Yeah.
when I got on baseball.
Okay.
Somewhere around. You know, there's a time for everything. So
Yeah. What did you learn through the game of baseball, Coach?
what I learned through it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I guess I probably learned a lot more than I can express. But you know, you just gotta, like we just talked about. You just try to keep getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I was in high school, we had a garage and a block thing in between the doorway and the car. You know, the car.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a block that was a little off color. And I'd get out and throw the ball at that thing. You know, I could feel it, I could throw it. It was
Yeah.
a good conditioner.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I did all kind of stuff. You know, I had my players doing all kind of things. We do wrist rollers, you know, to get stronger at the end
With
of
a towel?
practice.
Or just a rope with a
No,
weight on the bottom?
We had a weight on it and, took a broom handle, drilled a hole in it, tied a string to it, a rope to it, and, you know, rolled it up. They had to do so many of those. I think about 6 of them every day.
That's where my dad got it from. He'd have me do the same thing.
Is that
you know?
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He said, if you want to hit dingers, you got to get your forearms strong. Yeah, your
You
wrist.
gotta have strong hands and
Yeah.
forearms and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I would look for all kind of ways to try to improve and get better, you know.
Right.
And that was the way I coached.
Yeah. Well, I got another story for you.
Well, yeah, let me tell you,
Yeah.
it's like in practice, you know, I try to do drills that put pressure on guys. You know, we're gonna have a relay drill. We'd have a guy on the left field foul line. We'd have 4 people, and the guy way down the center field there.
Uh-huh.
And they toss the ball over the shoulder, run back and get it, and boom, they gotta hit the guy, and you gotta have a quick exchange, and we try to see who was first, you know, each time.
Competition, even in practice.
Always, everything was competitive.
Yeah.
Because that's where you play the game.
Right.
You know, you play the game. You go out there and just ding the ball around a little bit and, in practice, and when it comes to pressure time in the game, you can't handle it.
Yeah. I was always told you got to practice at game speed. You don't
Right.
practice slower because then the game speeds up for you game time.
Yeah.
This is basketball, and you got to practice how you want to play. Practice a little harder than the game.
Oh, yeah.
That way the game just slows down for you a little bit.
Yeah. That's what you try to do anyway.
Yeah. It's not always easy.
Well, you do all kind of drills and things like, you know, we'd get in groups of, well, I think it was 5. We'd have a pitcher and 2 guys on the end and a catcher and a guy throwing batting practice. We'd bunt, you know, and well, I don't know. It's just everything you do in practice, you try to set it up so it's competitive, you know.
Right. When you competed against teams with white cleats.
Well, yeah, we did. Yeah, some of them had white cleats. Yeah.
My dad told me. He said Coach Merkel came in the dugout, and my dad learned this, I guess. He said he didn't like teams that wore white cleats. He said, we're not going to lose against a team wearing white cleats today.
Oh, I probably did see that. I don't remember that.
Yeah. And I'd ask him, I said, well, Dad, did you lose? Nope. We didn't lose against a team with white cleats that day.
Yeah.
All right. So, here's another one from Gordon Engelhart. Stubborn and old school to the core. Is that true?
Well, it depends on how you look at it, but it probably is, you know.
Yeah.
You know, hell, let's do it right, you know. If we're gonna do it, just like I said, we're gonna play to win, you know.
Yeah.
And we're gonna practice to win. We'll practice to get better.
Right.
And I don't care if you win 20 games in a row or 30 games in a row, you know, practice like hell the next day, you
Yeah,
know.
we're not going to rest on our laurels.
That's right. That's when you get beat.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right, Coach. What other pearls of wisdom can you offer? Young coaches, aspiring coaches, guys that are thinking they might want to get into coaching.
Well, I don't know what exactly, but you got to be the leader. You know, you got to tell them what you want to do and how you're going to do it. And you can't let the players mope around out there and, you know, dictate to you what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And
You can't accept mediocrity either.
that's right. And now, if a kid, sometimes you get kids that they don't come to practice. Well, I got rid of them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And then if they're not going to give a good effort, you know, I might send everybody in.
Yeah.
Or send them around the track.
Yeah.
But hell, we're going to work at things when we're out there.
Right.
We're going to try to get better.
Yeah.
And if they're not interested in doing that, then hell, move on. We'll get somebody else. You know, put somebody else out there.
My dad would ask me things when I started coaching. He said, well, let me ask you this, son. What are you going to do if you got a senior who's kind of good, but you got a freshman or sophomore who's really good? I said, well, I'd probably play that freshman or sophomore, Dad. He said, well, Coach Merkel did the same thing.
Well, I'm not going to mention any names now. But I can remember we had a senior catcher and I think it was a sophomore catcher.
Mm-hmm.
And senior catcher caught the first couple of games. I said, hell, this sophomore can do a whole lot better. And I put him back there.
Yeah.
Well, his dad got mad at him.
The senior's dad?
Oh, yeah.
Did you care much about that dad getting mad?
Well, hell, like I said, you got to play to win. You know?
Yeah.
You can't win with us. If you got a better player, you want to put him out there.
Especially if he's got 2 or 3 years in front of him for you at the
Right.
school.
Well, he could do a better job at that time, too.
Yeah.
He's just more athletic, you know, he was more athletic, and I have nothing against the senior kid other than, you know, hell,
Right.
If you're gonna play the game, play to win. Put the best out there. You can't
Play as hard as you
win.
can.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can't win with the second best.
I liked when I was reading about you this morning, Don Mattingly. I read this quote where he must have gone up to Yogi Berra, which, man, my dad would tell me all type of yogi-isms. You know, if you come to a fork in the road, take it.
Yeah.
It gets laid awful early around here.
Yeah.
But Don Mattingly must have gone to Yogi and said, "You put me out there, you're never going to pull me out."
Right.
That's confidence. That's not cockiness, in my opinion. You got to be confident in what you're doing, or you're not going to be the best you could be.
Yeah, Donnie was a hell of a player. You know, he played as a freshman for us. He played freshman all 4 years. But he was a good ball player. He's a good fielder, a good hitter. You know, he was everything.
Yeah. When my grandpa Bill died, Miss Yvonne was there, and she said, "I remember when your Uncle Mike and Donnie were little and they'd play in this driveway, you know, over on Ravenswood." She said, "Your grandpa would kind of show them how to toss a ball around." And I think Don Mattingly had a lot of guys that he was a sponge, you know, he'd soak up knowledge from everywhere he could. Has there ever been, let me ask you your opinion here, Coach, has there ever been a better left-handed batter in the game of baseball?
In a game of baseball, you know, I don't know, but he's got to be up at the top.
Yeah.
You know, he's got to be at the top.
What did he do so well for you at Memorial as a batter?
As a batter?
Yeah.
Oh, he just, well, I can remember we were playing a lot of good memories from Donnie. But we were playing a team from up north early. You know, they came down here to make, I don't know, they played a number of different games. And we got behind, I think we were behind a run or two, and he got up to bat. And at Memorial, now we used to have the baseball diamond there behind school.
That's where
You remember that?
Yeah, that's my dad. My dad lived on Lodge and Walnut. We'd be over there every Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Donnie hit one, the first pitch that guy threw in there. We had a couple runners on, and he hit one in the air, but it was foul in the street, past the edge of the school.
On Benninghoff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knocked it out.
Yeah.
Then he comes up and he knocks one to the left center. It took one bounce and hit the school building. It was over the track. That's the way he was. You know, the more competitive it was, the more you needed it.
The more he showed up.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Where some guys, you know, they kind of shrink away, but.
Yeah. Well, when the lights come on and the big moment happens.
Yeah.
My childhood best friend Jesse would say things like, "Big players make big plays at big times."
Yeah.
And
well, that was him. That was him. Well, hell, that was him in playing for the Yankees. You know.
Right. He didn't get right on the diamond with the Yankees right off the bat, did he?
No, I think he was in he went Double A or Triple A or something like that for a while, and then well, he was in Double A, I think. I'm not sure exactly where it was, somewhere down there in Tennessee. In fact, we went down. My brother and I, we drove down there to watch him play a game or two. You know?
Yeah.
And he wasn't there long. But he kept moving up the ladder, you know.
Had a pretty good career too with the Yankees.
Yeah, he did.
I remember being a kid. And
Yeah.
he had just that batting stance was different. You know, the bat was down here. And when I was playing, you know, everything was back elbow up. Now I've been told by coaches they want it like this a little more.
Yeah.
But whatever worked. Heck, I was in here with West Carroll, we were bonding over Ricky Henderson being both of our favorite players.
Yeah.
And Ricky would get down with that leg, and he'd be back. But you know, the game of baseball teaches young men a lot of things, I believe, now more than ever. You know, sitting in the outfield without a phone in your hand, you gotta learn to just live instead of.
Yeah.
So, throughout your time in 45 years coaching baseball, how did you use the game of baseball to teach young men about life?
Well, you know, I don't know. But my approach was always to do the best you can, to work hard at things, and try to improve. You know, you always try to improve. If you think, well, I've made it to the top, I'm up here. In fact, the expression I used was climb a ladder.
Mm-hmm.
You just try to keep climbing up that ladder.
Yeah.
If you get up to a certain point or at the top, almost to the top, and you think, well, I got it made, and you start going downhill, you know.
Yeah.
But I said, you always want to try to keep climbing up that ladder.
Yeah.
And that's kind of was my approach to the game.
Gotcha.
You know. We never get to the point where we think we got it, you know. If you get to that point, then you're going down here.
Yeah. Well, you handed it off to good hands in the baseball program. Is Rip Collins still over there as a skipper?
Yeah. I see baseball coach. Yeah.
And then my dad and I, before they moved the paper to Louisville, I heard about that for 5 straight years from my dad. Well, I don't know who won the football game. I don't find out until Sunday in the Courier and Press now.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
well, I don't even get the paper anymore.
I don't either. But, you know, we would talk about things and, you know, talk about sports, my dad and I. And he'd always say things like, Coach Hurley, you know, all he did was win a football state championship in 3A. Then they moved him up to 4A, and all he did was win one there. And, I mean, it's the best football program in the state of Indiana.
He did a good job. Now, I've got a grandson that's a senior. He plays defensive end.
Okay.
And he was named after me. He's Quentin. And then I have from the same family, Sam, who's a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been going down on kickoffs.
As a freshman?
As a freshman, yeah.
He must have that
Well,
competitive
about
fighting
80
spirit.
guys out there, and he's one of the
Yeah.
11 going down on the kickoff. So,
Who do they have tomorrow night?
let me.
It's not the Heritage Hills matchup yet, is it?
No. Hell, right now.
Anyhow,
I can't come.
my daughters go to Heritage Hills. So this is like, you know, we used to have this, we called it the inter-family rivalry. I'm divorced. They go to Heritage Hills when I was coaching at Bossy.
Yeah.
We'd all meet in Boonville. My daughters, my ex-wife would sit on one side with Heritage Hills, and I'd sit over with Bossy. And, you know, regardless of who won, I enjoyed that competition.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'd have a Bossy t-shirt on underneath and maybe a Heritage Hills, you know, pullover on, and whoever, if Bossy won, I'd pull that pullover on and stare at my daughters, you know. But now, you know, my dad and my grandpa, my paternal side of the family went to Memorial. So I'm real excited because they're number 1 and number 2 in the state in football.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a heck of a game. I guess that'll be next weekend if they both win tomorrow. I don't know if they'll have it in the jungle or at Inlow, where they'll have that one.
I'm not sure. But we play at Inlow.
Yeah, tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. We'll play Southridge.
Southridge is a decent team.
Yeah, I don't know anything about them. I understand they're a pretty hard-hitting team and everything. Yeah.
Well, they had that kid, Colson Montgomery. I'm sure you heard that name.
Yeah.
I think he's playing with the White Sox now.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, but he was like, I remember seeing him as a basketball player, like 6'5", could do anything.
Yeah.
One of those guys that, you know, you throw any ball to them and they're going to be successful with it.
Well, they up in that area, like Jasper, Southridge, Heritage Hills, hell, they have good athletes.
Right.
You know, Heritage Hills has always seemed like it was tougher than hell all the time.
Yeah, I think that's Coach Wilkerson up there, might be the football coach.
I'm not sure who it is, but you're probably right.
And you coach to what you've got.
Yeah.
I've noticed coaches that aren't successful, they want to coach the way they played in high school.
Yeah.
They want to talk about their glory days. And kids that I coach don't care about your glory days, coach. They don't want to hear it. I'd watch coaches do it and the kids, oh, you know.
Yeah.
But at Heritage Hills, I think what he has is he realizes he's got it in between the left and right tackle. That's his advantage. And, you know, he'll do some wing tee type stuff and around the end and up the middle, and then they'll throw a 40-yard pass. And now they've got that kid at quarterback, Jet Goldsberry,
Yeah.
which his dad was a decent football player.
He was an athlete.
Yeah. So he's got the pedigree.
Well, now, Goldsberry runs the ball a lot, doesn't he? Now
Yeah.
We're talking about Heritage Hills.
We're talking about Heritage Hill. I'm
Plays
giving you the scouting report here, Coach. He does. He can run it, but I think what they do really well is they'll run it around the ends, up the middle, and then they'll do like a play action, and he can, once every 7 or 8 plays, throw that ball 40, 50 yards down the field.
Yeah.
And they've got 2 receivers. I've been watching these games for a while now.
Okay.
And but Memorial, when I drive down Walnut and I see Wayne's Field over there, and then I like to drive by my dad's house every once in a while. It's still in good shape. But I love driving by there, and I slow down when football practice is going. And it's run like a crisp machine. I mean, every guy is like lined up with each other. The seniors are leading. The coaches are letting the seniors lead until that whistle's blown and it's time to go.
Well, now, what you're talking about there, see, I'm retired, and hell, I not every day, but almost every day, I'll drive over there and I'll either park on the, you know where the old tennis court used to be?
Yeah.
Okay, the street right there, I'll park here almost on Walnut, right there before you get to Walnut, and watch them practice. I don't know what the heck's going on, you know, but man, they're organized. They got about 8 or 9 coaches.
Yeah.
And hell, they spread out and they're doing all kinds of drills and everything.
Isn't there a
They
Mattingly
do a
over
good
there?
job of it.
There's a Mattingly, is it Randy that's over there as a gym teacher or a history teacher in football?
No, not Randy. Well, Larry Mattingly.
Larry Mattingly, that's who it is, yeah.
But I don't think he coaches anymore.
Okay.
He was coaching, he was a head football coach for a while, and he was a head wrestling coach, but I don't think he does, but I'm not sure.
This
I
would have
think
been,
Hoppy's a wrestling coach.
yeah, this would have been 2019 when I went over there and saw him. I was helping my best friend out with some freshman football at
Yeah.
Harrison. And we went over there, and it was like I think we played on a Monday night. It was like the last freshman JV C team kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we started at about 7:15 maybe. And we get to the third quarter, and it's a close game. And the lights all go out.
Oh,
The lights go out at 9 p.m. on a timer. And I'm sitting there, and I thought, damn it, Wayne, you didn't pay the light bill? All this money, you brought into this school, you didn't pay the light bill. So we got the lights turned back on, but, that's a beautiful football field. For a while there, I had my own feelings about it being built, because my dad would go over there with a 5-gallon bucket of balls, and we'd hit against the first baseline dugout. And then he said, well, do you want to pitch? I said, no one ever let me pitch. I'm like a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
He said, well, throw them in here as hard as you can, son. You won't get one by me. And he knew how to motivate me. Oh, it's all right. And I throw it, and he just clink,
Yeah.
clink. He'd say, well, you're going to have to throw it low and outside if you want to get it by me. So I do that, and he just clink.
Yeah.
But,
Now, you're talking about Memorial's field.
yeah, the baseball field.
Yeah. Well, the baseball field?
What used to be the baseball
Yeah,
field.
okay. Now it's the football field.
Right.
And when I started over there in 1970, they wanted to raise the field up, the football field. So I can't remember who it was, but somebody was in the water department or something. And they said, oh yeah, we'll bring some dirt over there for you, Well, they would dig up streets, Well, hell, they'd dig up blacktop and all that stuff, and they dumped all that damn stuff.
Right in your outfield?
Oh, man. Hell, I remember getting on an old Ford tractor, and I'm trying to clear away a place where we could hit fly balls,
Yeah.
But hell, the whole outfield was just big mounds of, it wasn't just dirt, it was blacktop and rock and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And we went out there, I don't know how many hours we spent picking up during football season.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, that led over into baseball season, and man, what a mess.
Yeah.
But now they got turf on there, and it's a beautiful place.
That turf, it is nice to play on. Well, I wouldn't know about playing football, but it is nice to go out there and walk around on.
Yeah.
But I always ask my dad, I said, Dad, why didn't you let me play football? He said, because I played it And I knew better than to let you play. I said, all right, Dad, well, what was your job as a halfback with Dan Fain as a fullback? He said, well, they told me to put my head down and clear lane for my best friend. That's when I finally pulled it out of him. I think I told you on the phone, I'd ask him, Dad, what'd you play in football? End, guard, and tackle. Sat at the end of the bench. I guarded the water bottle, and I tackled any of my teammates that wanted a drink of my water.
Your dad was a good athlete. Yeah, he's a good boy.
That's what I always heard from other people. He never talked about it,
Yeah.
And he tried to instill the same thing on me, no one gives a damn about your glory days in high school playing sports.
Yeah.
The guys that talk about that, they never move on in life. And I learned a lot from them.
Yeah. The football team this year is undefeated at this point.
Right.
And a friend of mine, John Titz, I don't know if you ever heard of him or not. He played fullback on our football team at Memorial.
Mm-hmm.
He said in '78 we were the last undefeated football team, not the only one because Don Ping had a number of undefeated teams, but we were the last undefeated team at Memorial. We were 10-0. They didn't have a state championship playoff at that time.
Yeah. Would they vote for who the state champion is after the season?
I don't know. They rank them somewhere or another. I'm not sure how they do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like politics. They said, well, this person's and I'm not going to mention any name, but so this person's leading in this poll and this.
Yeah.
I said, who the hell's making up the polls?
Yeah.
That's
straw polls.
Yeah. It's kind of like you're saying there. Who's making out the polls? So
Yeah.
If you're not playing it off,
Yeah. Well, my dad, I got a picture of him there. I look at this picture here, Coach, and I think, man, look how high he can jump. His feet were up at the knees of his defender.
Yeah.
And he said, well, we never had the greatest basketball teams at Memorial, but he said, I loved playing it. And my uncle, Mike, would come in town. He'd say, your dad thought he was within range when he crossed half court. And I thought,
Wayne said that?
No, Mike
did.
I said, Mike, that must be where I got it from, because I was the same way. I get across half court, I want to start thinking about pulling it.
Yeah.
But that's one of the neatest pictures there. I mean,
Good,
he had good form. He had that ball up there.
Yeah, man.
See, look, he was wearing those Chuck Taylor's low tops back then.
Yeah.
And I'd say, Dad, how did you play in those? Being a basketball player, I always had to wear high tops. He said, that's all we had, son. You play with what you got.
Yeah. You talked to Wayne much?
Just talked to him a few days ago. That's how I got your number. Wayne gave me your number. Yeah. When I got out of the Marines in 2012, my grandpa said, call Wayne and see what you can learn from him.
Yeah.
I called him, and every time I call Wayne, he tells me the same thing. I said, Wayne, I was wondering if I could pick your brain. Well, I don't know what you'll find up there. Probably not much. I say, you say that every time.
Yeah.
And I learn more and more from him.
Well, how's his wife doing?
Jules doing well. I saw her last summer. We did like a little family reunion down at Barkley Lake. We'd always go down to Buzzard Rock as a kid, but she was just as joyous and happy to see like all these younger kids around. She had a smile on her face. What I've learned from Jewel and Wayne is that regardless of what's going on in life, you got to enjoy it. When you stop enjoying it, you stop learning. And my dad told me that.
Yeah.
Son, you got to learn until your last breath. When you stop learning, you start dying. Yeah. And it's kind of like you're talking about with coaching.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've gone through some tough times in life, too. My wife had ALS. I don't know if you aware of that or not.
Yeah.
And she lived, she was, I don't know, we had a lot of help. I was very fortunate. We had a lot of help, had a lot of good women come over to stay with her.
Yeah.
So that I could, just keep coaching and doing things, And I had 4 young kids at home there.
Mm-hmm.
And
I heard a story, I think it was from Wayne or my dad, that they would bring her out there because she loved watching you coach so much. They would bring her out there.
she wanted to go to the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'd come out in an ambulance.
That's exactly what I was told.
Yeah. And she said, I remember she said like the football field was this way, she said in the end zone, or not the end zone, but at that end of the field.
Yeah.
Or one of the end, which was best,
Right.
so that she could see and watch the game.
The whole community would kind of come together to help people
Oh,
when
yeah,
they
I'll
needed
tell
it.
you, we were. That was very unfortunate, but we were very lucky.
Yeah.
We got a lot of help.
Yeah. That's how we get through tough times, isn't it, Coach?
I guess so, yeah. Well, I guess not everybody is that fortunate to get that kind of help, the people, I mean, after school, there'd be a different lady come over every night. She'd stay there until I got home from practice, I was helping with football and of course baseball.
You love the game. No matter what the sport is, you just love the game, don't you, Coach?
Oh, hell, I like, well, like I said, that, when I got out of college, I started working at Catholic Charities.
Mm-hmm.
And hell, I traveled all over the southwest Indiana, up to Jasper, to Goldie, different places, every day. I'd go to a different place. And I did that for about a year. And then my friend who worked at the Job Corps Center up there said, you can, come up here, you can get a job, you can make a lot more money than you're making now.
Mm-hmm.
I said, hell, I'll do that. And I got coach that flag football team. I said, man, I really like this. So.
Someone told me that you were still kind of helping out with some flag football within the last few years.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay, someone said that you were at flag
Well,
football
I
practice.
I had a stroke, and I don't get around quite as well as I used to.
Yeah.
So in fact, Pat Schultz is doing some work with the baseball players, I think,
Yeah.
over on the baseball diamond.
Yeah.
And he said, come on out there and help out. I said,
Yeah.
I said, hell, I don't know. Probably more hindrance than help.
Oh, stop it, Coach. I know that isn't true. I know that isn't true. I've heard too many stories from old man to know that you'd be a hindrance to any baseball team. Pat, does he have a son named Sam?
Yeah.
Sam, when I worked at Holy Rosary, I was just a groundskeeper. And Sam would be there in the cafeteria, and I'd have to take out the trash.
Yeah.
And I loved taking out the trash because I got to see Sam and talk to him.
Yeah.
And I was coaching at Bossy, working at Holy Rosary during the day. And when it came time for that Bossy Memorial game, that's a rivalry that's never simmered down.
Yeah.
And so I'd come in there and I'd say, oh, Sam, what are you going to do against, Perry Fayro? He said, well, Adam Eberhardt's a real good player too, Coach. I said, he sure is. He's about 6'7". I said, but we got a guy that we could put on him. And I said, yeah, but what are you going to do against Brandon Walker, Coach? Sam? And I got to see Sam at Clint's funeral.
Yeah.
And, Clint, he was a hero to me as a kid. Clint was maybe 4 or 5 years older. And no matter what he did, he was competitive and he was really good at it.
Oh, he was out laughing.
I mean, he was just really good. And what I noticed more than anything, as a kid, I just saw him play basketball, baseball, football. He picked it up and became a great wide receiver. But he had so much gratitude, and he always had a smile on his face. And every story I remember of Clint ended with a smile on his face, and he'd leave people feeling better than when they got there at the beginning of that conversation or that competition.
Yeah.
Someone told me Clint got in good with the janitor at Memorial, and he asked that janitor, how can I get in here to shoot shots at night? Because Clint always wanted to play
Yeah, he
basketball.
lived right across the street.
Right, right. So that janitor said, well, when I leave it open, I click this thing on top of the door open. So next thing you know, Clint could walk across the street at midnight if he couldn't sleep and get shots up.
Yeah.
And then there became these legendary East Side midnight basketball sessions. Guys from Harrison, guys from Bossy, guys
Oh,
from
is that
everywhere.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And, when I would walk around, I'd start hearing basketball, and I could just kind of look, oh my gosh, there's David Ragland. Oh, there's Clint Keon.
yeah.
Oh, there's, all these guys that were just really good basketball players. So You know, the game teaches you a lot of things, I believe. And perseverance, how to get through tough times. You know, when you're down 13, 14 points at the end of the third quarter, that game ain't over.
Things are not always gonna go your way.
That's
You
true.
gotta fight through it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Coach, did you ever, when things weren't going your way as a baseball coach at Memorial, you ever get tossed from a game?
Oh, yeah, I tossed a couple times,
Yeah. How'd you deal with that?
Well, we're playing, I think it was Harrison in the sectional championship game.
Uh-huh.
I'll just tell you this one story. I didn't get caught. I got tossed a few times, but not too often. Anyway, we got a runner on third base,
Uh-huh.
and it's the last inning. We're the home team,
Mm-hmm.
and the game's tied.
Mm-hmm.
And Harrison had a good ball team. And the guy hits a pop-up foul, if you know it, at Bossy Field, over there in foul territory, and
Mm-hmm.
down that way quite a bit.
First or third baseline?
First baseline.
Okay. Yep.
And first baseman goes back and he makes a catch. I know that's a tough play, see,
Mm-hmm.
defensively. So I tell the guy at third base, I said, tag up, we're going.
Yeah.
We're going. And he took off, and the guy turned around and tried to throw him out, and he didn't make it. So he didn't throw him out. So game's over. Harrison left the field. The umpires went left the field.
Uh-huh.
All of a sudden, the umpire come back out. And
Uh-huh.
he
He
said,
didn't tag up on
he left
He left early. Yeah.
and he called him out. And he called him out. Hell, I got thrown out of that game.
Yeah.
Now, if you notice where first base is,
Uh-huh.
first base dugout,
Yeah.
there's a little gate right on the far end of that.
Mhm.
The stands. So you're out of the game. Get out of the game.
Yeah.
So I went up and I stood back at that gate. I had, I think it was Gene Martin on second base.
Uh-huh.
Well, he was on first.
Yeah.
And he steals second and next when the game got going.
Mm-hmm.
And the catcher, they had a catcher, and I don't remember his name, but he could throw the heck out of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And he threw the ball and hit the pitcher in the back. And he threw hard, too.
Yeah.
Knocked the pitcher out of the ball game. So Gene's on second, so they bring in a left-hander.
Mm-hmm. What time frame is this? What year?
I'm not sure what
80s, 90s?
80s, I think.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, I'm thinking, I'm out of the game over there, and I'm thinking, they bring in this new guy, and he throws a few Walmart pitches.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hell, you can't, he's gonna be nervous as hell, he can't have everything under control. So I put Steele on for Gene, at Martin, I put Steele on third base.
Yeah.
Well, the catcher, he grabs the ball and he fires it and he throws it in the dirt, and it went through the third baseman's legs. And
Yeah.
Gene hits the bag, jumps up, comes home.
Yep.
And the
Yeah.
game's over, see?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know, it's just some fine memories there.
You coached Andy Rice, who became a coach.
Oh, yeah.
How was
yeah.
he to coach?
Oh, he was a good ball player.
Yeah.
I remember we're in the gym, we're trying out. And I don't know, it was early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the pitchers all lined up, they're pitching to the catchers.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was a catcher.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a freshman. And Ralph Einstein comes to the gym. He's walking through there. I said, come here, Ralph. Come here. I said, look at this guy. He goes over and he looks at me, watches him throw 2 or 3 pitches. He said,
And pretty good.
oh, pretty good. Pretty good. Andy was a hell of a pitcher for us.
Yeah. I asked Coach Rice.
But he coached it, and then he ended up coaching Harrison.
Harrison.
Hell, I coached against him, yeah.
I asked him the same question I asked Coach Rice. I said, Coach, when did you know it was time to hang it up? Well, Kyle.
Yeah, that's Andy now. Yeah.
Well, Kyle. it was a sectional championship, and I didn't like the last call, and they tossed me out of the game, and I figured that's a way to go out. That's at least what he said.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Yeah. But he was a really good baseball coach. I can remember growing up playing Plaza National for John Stanley and Coach Horrell, Coach Thomas. They were like Andy Rice's feeder baseball coaches.
Yeah.
And, you know, I never got the chance to play for Andy. I moved down to Texas for high school. But my dad, he'd always say, Andy Rice is a fine man. He's just a fine man. My dad would say that about certain guys.
Yeah.
And my Uncle Mike, I'd impersonate, you know, oh, yeah, my name's Coach Rice.
Yeah.
He just had that slow, easy demeanor.
And he threw a fastball, you know, left-handed.
Yeah.
And
Had a little movement on it.
Yeah, he had a nice curveball and everything. He was,
All right, Coach, I got a question for you. I got a ball here. How would you teach a curveball with that thing? How does a man throw a curveball?
well, that's put it right here,
Uh-huh.
and you come here.
Rotate it down.
Yeah, rotate it down. And you got to work at it. You know, you can. I don't have good control of the sun here now, but you know, you can work on the spin right there.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, just tossing it
Now, a
up.
fastball, you're coming here. You know,
Right.
curveball, you're coming here.
Yeah.
And of course, some guys can do it. They can throw it the other way too. You know.
And would that make it come in a little bit on a right-handed batter?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
See, I'm a right-handed or left-handed pitcher. A right-handed pitcher, come in here and you bring it in here.
Yeah.
Or you can throw it. You know, you throw a slider, you kind of come here.
Uh-huh.
A curveball, you go here. I was watching a game last night, man. That one curveball I got through, went.
Yeah.
Oh man, he dropped off the table.
Did you ever have any knuckleball pitchers?
Well, if they can throw it,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not against it, but
My dad.
I didn't teach the knuckleball, but
Right. You know, I'd watch that Tim Wakefield. Remember him? That thing would just seem like it sat up in the air forever. When my dad would give me batting practice, he'd throw, you know, right down the middle heat, and every once in a while, he'd throw one a little high and tight, and he'd get, oh, are you all right? I said, yeah, I'm all right. You didn't hit me, you know. But then he'd throw, I'd be taking fastballs, you know, and he'd throw a knuckleball, and what the heck was that? And he could just sit it where it was just, it didn't move at all.
Your dad was a good pitcher. He had a outstanding fastball.
Did he really?
Oh yeah, he threw the ball well.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember my dad, when my dad and mom were still alive, and we played. I think we played in Jasper in the championship game in the regional at Jasper, and my Uncle Urban came over and watched the game, and your dad was pitching, and it got about the sixth inning, I guess, and he said, well, I'm gonna go home. I said, look, I ain't got this under control.
Yeah.
He was, your dad was mowing him down. He had a good ball game.
I imagine he threw pretty hard with everything he had.
Yes, he did. Yeah. He threw hard. He had a nice fastball.
Yeah. That's kind of how he did everything. I mean, he went hard. You know, he was a pipe fitter for 30 years.
Okay.
And he would, I'm sure he learned it from you, Coach, and the other coaches he had in high school. But, you know, when he would leave, I'd come up every summer to stay with him in high school.
Okay.
And I never wanted to be in Texas. Now I've got some perspective on it. I appreciate it. But when he would leave to go work at Alcoa or wherever the pipe fitters needed him, he would throw out a jump rope. He would throw out some weights. And he had the basketball on that back porch. And he said, Memorial's right there. You go shoot. Here's your jump rope. Here's your weights. By the time I get home today, we'll see if you worked at it today or something like that. And we'd walk over there together.
Okay.
My high school basketball coach, Darren Schiermeyer, he would say things like, the greatest thing you can do is ask your dad to rebound for you. And my dad would.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I'd be tired shooting, and I'd say, all right, you show me what you got, old man. And he could still get up there and knock him in from the elbow or whatever, and then he'd get a little further out and he'd knock him in. I'd say, man, you still got it. You know?
And hey, I gotta ask you a question. I don't understand this. You said you went to high school in Texas.
Yeah, so I grew up here in Evansville. I went to Harper, Hebron, Plaza, and then I went to Grapevine High School in Texas. Now,
How come you went to high school in Texas?
well, my mom and dad divorced when I was young,
Okay,
so my mom's family was down in Dallas.
I see. Okay.
So I moved down there, and then I found out how to get back up here my senior year.
Okay.
Tore my ACL and threw a party. My mom said, "You're going to live with your dad. I'm sending you on a Greyhound." I said, "I would have thrown a party freshman year if I knew I'd get me back up there." So I get there to 1415 East Walnut, and I'm thinking, I get to go to Memorial like my dad did. All right, I get to, He said, "No, son, you messed up." So you're going to walk right down Lodge, and you're going to graduate from Benjamin Bossy High School.
Okay.
And, it was one of the best experiences of my life. Being able to spend that last 3 months with my dad senior year. And when I interviewed with Coach Burkhart to coach for him, I said, I was only here for about 3 months. And Coach Burkhart said, "What's it say on your diploma?" I said, "Bossy." He said, "You're a Bulldog." And Burkhart, I think the world of.
Yeah.
Nicely played for Coach Burkhart. And I really do. When people say this nonsense, coach, you can't coach like Bobby Knight anymore. Pardon my French, but bullshit. I read something you said, you have to correct mistakes.
Yeah.
If not, how is anyone going to learn? You're just going to let them slide through life? You have to correct mistakes. And as a young man, you don't always like hearing that as a 16, 17-year-old. My dad told me something, Coach. He said, "I hated playing for Coach Merkel." Until about 3 years went by and I realized he was the best thing for me. That's kind of how I view a good coach in high school.
Yeah. Well, there's only one way to do it. Try to do it the right way,
Do it the right way.
But hell, that's the way life is, isn't it? I mean, repetition.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again. Try to improve.
I'm going to steal, as coaches, we I say the word steal, but we take things we heard from other coaches.
Uh-huh.
And I said this when I was talking with Coach West Carroll. I learned it from Coach David Ragland at UE. "Kyle, we take what worked and we keep it in our toolbox.
Yeah.
And what didn't work, we get rid of it." And he said, it doesn't matter what career you're in. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
That's what I believe, Coach. Here is, look at that. There's Dan Henning. Every single glove he ever had. He put his name and his number on there, Coach.
Oh my goodness.
And then, when he taught me, here's my Little League second baseman glove. And then I got my name on one, his phone number still.
Okay, yeah.
All right, Coach, I'm going to end with one of your quotes, and then whatever you could add before we finish up. This is from Coach Merkel. "If everyone did things with their hearts, this earth would be a paradise. Greed screws everything up."
That's the way it is, isn't it? I
That's
mean,
the way I see things, yeah.
you look at our political system now. What the
Yeah.
hell's wrong with that?
Oh, don't get me started, Coach. We'll be here until November 3rd. We'll be through the holy days.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get you started, but I'm gonna express myself.
Please do.
I see, these damn politicians, man, I tell you, all it is I think is greed is a big thing.
Yeah, greed and ego.
Right. Yeah, well, they wanna get in a position where they can, and I heard something on TV the other day, and I haven't heard it since I did it, I've never heard it before, but, I'm not gonna mention a political party, but
Yeah.
they're giving away millions of dollars, and people don't know about it,
Buying votes.
Yeah, buying votes.
Buying votes.
Yeah.
My, go ahead.
No, that's what you're talking about, greed,
Well, I've got a couple axioms I try to live by, Coach. Anything worthwhile is earned, it's not given.
Oh, yeah.
If my grandpa was a millionaire and I inherited my first $1 million, I wouldn't learn how to earn $1.
Oh,
My
yeah.
dad had a paper route from the time he was 8 years old. And he said, I learned real quick, son, how to keep $1 in my pocket, and I learned the value of $1 because I earned them. And then he
Well-
had a motorcycle at 12, and then he had a vehicle, and he bought them all himself.
Now, you talked about that, see, all during high school, I had my brother and I, we had a courier paper route. We get up at 4:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is in high school, all through high school.
Yeah.
4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And deliver papers. Come home, and we had a couple of goats. I milked those.
Yeah.
And we had animals to feed and things. You ate breakfast, you went to school.
Yeah.
You know, I did all through high school.
Yeah. I asked my dad, Coach,
Yeah.
you know, this is probably about 7 or 8 years ago. I asked him about that paper. He said, you know, and then on Fridays I had to go collect or whatever day it was.
That's right, yeah.
And
Saturday. It was
Saturday, yeah.
Saturday was a collection.
Yeah. I said, well, Dad, what would happen if they didn't pay? And you know how my dad was.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, man. You think they're going to stiff a little 10-year-old on Saturday asking for 80 cents? I said, so they didn't stiff you? He said, nobody ever stiffed me.
Well, I had a few, but they didn't get a paper the next day. You know?
Well, Coach, I appreciate you sitting down with me.
Yeah.
It's a dream come true. All these stories I'd heard over the years, it's something where I never thought I'd be able to meet you, let alone talk to you about sports
Well,
and
nice
life.
meeting you.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it.
Okay.